It's a sunny Friday afternoon, and straight truck driver John Doe is daydreaming about the weekend. He drives slowly in the right lane of a two-lane one-way street and stares at a green traffic signal ahead. But a sports car becomes impatient and tries to pass on his right side through some empty parking spaces. The car loses control and fishtails sideways in front of Doe's truck, hitting a van on Doe's left side. Doe then broadsides the sports car. Was this preventable or not? The National Safety Council ruled it was preventable. Doe should have been more aware of his surroundings and should have kept an eye on his right side mirror. So how does a driver train to prevent something like this? You know that whenever a space, even an illegal space like a parking strip, opens up on either side of you, impatient drivers will often try to squeeze around you. So let that open space be a mental trigger for your eyes to do a quick scan of all your mirrors. That way you'll train to expect the unexpected. It's a sunny late morning on a two-lane road, and John Doe approaches a railroad crossing when the warning lights and signal bells come on. Doe stops out of an abundance of caution, but then he sees a car approaching fast from behind. Doe decides to inch ahead to give the car as much room as possible to stop before hitting him, but the front of his hood gets hit by the descending guard arm. Was this preventable or not? The National Safety Council ruled it was preventable. Doe should not have moved closer to the tracks and should have trusted the car to stop in time. Here's what we can learn from this. 1. Railroad crossings keep vehicles a safe distance from the tracks. Never stop within them. You'll rarely hear or see the train before the guardrail drops. 2. Remember, you're the pro. While well-intentioned, this trucker let another driver affect his better judgment, risking himself and a derailed train. It's a foggy morning on a two-lane highway, and tractor-trailer driver John Doe is talking with another driver on his CB. He's obeying the speed limit of 55 miles per hour when he looks ahead to his right and sees a pickup truck on a side road come to a full stop at a stop sign. The truck then suddenly pulls out in front of Doe. Doe can't stop in time, and his tractor-trailer hits the side of the truck. Doe tells his safety director that his low beam lights were on and that he was obeying the speed limit. Was this accident preventable or not? The National Safety Council ruled it was preventable. Doe made no effort to slow down and should have considered that the pickup truck might not see him through the fog. So how does a driver train to prevent an accident like this? You know you have to feather your speed to give yourself time to stop, but defensive driving means assuming the worst. You need a cushion to avoid the mistakes made by other drivers, and those mistakes are harder to dodge in rain, snow, and fog. So when conditions get bad, take a deep breath and slow down, even if that means going a little below the posted speed limit. It's raining during the early afternoon, and doubles driver John Doe is on a divided four-lane highway. He's aware of the weather conditions and is driving below the posted speed limit. He's in the far right lane and passes a slower flatbed truck. After he successfully passed the slow-moving truck and is still in the passing lane, a speeding sports car steers out of control from the side street, across the median and into Joe's lane. Joe immediately hits his brakes and turns his steering wheel sharply to avoid hitting the car, but his rear trailer's momentum pulls the entire vehicle over onto its side and crashes into a ditch. Was this preventable or not? The National Safety Council ruled it was not preventable. Doe had no time to see the sports car and prepare for an incident, and he did everything he could to avoid a collision. So how does a driver train to deal with a situation like this? Defensive driving means avoiding the errors of others. Because of the poor visibility, Doe had reduced his speed to below the posted limit, which gave him more time and space to react to the incident. Finally, Doe saw an out-of-control vehicle coming towards him and was able to steer and brake out of the collision with the car. While he ended up on his side in a ditch, there were no casualties, the best outcome for a bad situation. It's a sunny morning, and tractor-trailer driver John Doe is on a divided highway with multiple lanes. He's approaching a stale red light when he notices a pickup truck in the lane to his right. The signal light turns green, and Doe accelerates slowly and realizes that the far right lane will merge into his lane. The pickup truck driver accelerates quickly to get in front of Doe, but the driver moves over too fast, and the back of his pickup hits the right front side of Doe's truck. Was this preventable or not? The National Safety Council ruled it was preventable. Doe should have expected that the pickup truck would try to get ahead of him, and should have watched his mirrors and made plans to yield quickly. So how does a driver train to prevent an accident like this? As a driver of a large vehicle, you must be vigilant to other vehicles around you at all times, constantly scanning your mirrors, using your hearing, and looking ahead are all ways you can read the road. You also have to expect other drivers are not as well trained and may drive erratically. It's your job as the professional driver to compensate for their mistakes and avoid risky situations. It's 10 p.m. on a 4-lane divided highway, and tractor-trailer driver John Doe gets ready to make a U-turn. He moves into the left lane and activates his turn signal and waits at the red light. Doe then checks his right side mirrors, and he sees no other traffic. Unfortunately for Doe, a sports car is hidden from view behind Doe's trailer. When the light turns green, Doe slowly begins a button-hook turn, swinging out wide to the right to begin his U-turn. At the same time, the impatient driver in the sports car decides to pass him on the right. In the intersection, Doe's ICC bar clips the car. Was this accident preventable or not? The National Safety Council ruled it was preventable. Doe should have checked his mirrors again before beginning his U-turn, and he should have tried to find another way to turn around instead of attempting a U-turn on a 4-lane highway. So how can a driver avoid this kind of crash? When you're in traffic, maintain your space cushion. You should be checking your mirrors before you arrive at the light. Plan your trips ahead of time so there won't be any traffic surprises when you get there.